Greetings, Commanders, this is Pagan Horde, and today I would like to do something a little different. I would like to fulfill a request that has been made in the YouTube comment section about a guide to the different weapon types available in Roguetech. Because it can be a bit overwhelming for a new player, there's a lot of weapon type that have been created only for Roguetech, and even for the most enthusiastic of the Battletech nerd, there can be a lot. So I will attempt to do that today. My setup is fairly simple. I've entered the Mechbay and opened a direwolf so that I can simply slot different weapons in it and to be able to talk about them. Now, I'm going to start by speaking broadly of the weapon type, and then we're going to dive into each one of them. So for the first four that we're going to take a look at here will be the basic inner sphere. We're going to take a look at that with the three large lasers that I have here. We have clan, RISC, and science. So, inner sphere. Inner sphere is going to be fairly the same thing as the vanilla Battletech game. They serve the same function, they are the basic weapon. But in Roguetech you will have casually available all of the Lost Tech item from before the Star League era to after the discovery of the Elm memory core. So for the three large laser setup, after that we can look at an extended range large laser, which is inner sphere technology, with a bit more damage, 5 more damage, more heat, but with much better range. You can fire from longer range. After that, we're going to take a look at the large pulse laser. Now this is pulse technology of the inner sphere. This is a 7-ton instead of 5. However, it will now be 3 times 19 instead of a single beam, with the added benefit of accuracy. So you have +1 accuracy and ignore 1 evasion with that weapon. So that is an example of inner sphere available in Roguetech. After that, we're going to go into the clan one. Now, clan technology is a big subject, but for this video we're only looking at weapon and trying to compare the different types. Now for this, we're going to look at a classic inner sphere long-range missile 15 with its 7-ton, 3 slots, and 12 heat. Now we go down to the clan, we're going to have half the weight at 3.5 ton, 2 slots instead of 3, and 15 heat. Now, yes, for this game, the technological advancement of the clan is fairly obvious. Their weapon would usually be lighter, better range, better everything, but with the cost of always more heat. That's where you have to be careful when you're stacking too much clan weapons. Gotta watch the heat. Now, anyone familiar with Roguetech will understand inner sphere and then clan, but then we're gonna dive into the other stuff that's been added over time to the mod that are founded in lore, but not often representative of tabletop. The first one I have here is RISC. Now RISC is Republic Institute for Strategic Combat. This is a Dark Age Republic of the Sphere research and weapon development. Now that thing existed in lore, of course, but these weapons are made for Roguetech only. Now, we're going to discuss the difference between RISC and the regular weapons later, but in a general manner, they usually outperform the inner sphere, but they have more jam chance, recoil, and other setbacks to deal with. After that, we're going to go for Society gear, or Science gear. Now, Society is a group of rebel clan scientists who attempted to supplant the warrior case in the War of Reaving, before and after the War of Reaving. Now, this is a real faction, and it's really interesting. However, these weapons are for more Roguetech flavor. They don't really exist in the tabletop, and they are technologically superior to even clan weapons. For an example, here is this MRM 60. Yes, 60. With 7 slots, 11 tons that can casually drop 300 damage. It is, in theory, the best weapon in the game. The weapon that can drop the most damage for its tonnage. But Society gear is extremely rare, even in Roguetech, online or offline. They're hard to find, and they're often an event when they happen. But wait, there's more. There are pirate weapons, and then there is Quicksell. Pirate weapons are usually do-it-yourself pirate shenanigans from the Periphery. Now we're gonna take a look at a classic AC-10 that has 60 damage, 15 stability, 6 heat, 1 recall. And then we're gonna take a look at the AC-10 Spiky with Pirate. 2 recall, 10 jam multiplier, recall of 2, jam chance. But it has spikes all over it so that you can do more damage with a charge attack. Which sounds very Periphery. Now, pirate weapons, they're all unique. You have to take a look at the text description to figure out what the hell it is. And I also advise to always take a look at the flavor text because it's usually pretty funny. After that, we have Quicksell. Now, Quicksell is, well, debatable if it actually exists in lore. It is more fan fiction, but nonetheless, it is more a satire of cheaply made products. For example, we have this SRM-10 here, which advertises itself as firing 10 SRM, which it does, but then the damage of the missile, the SRM missile, instead of being 10 per missile, is now 6. So you're firing 6 times 10, doing 60 damage anyway. So it is almost a satire of cheaply made products or false advertising. And they all have very interesting flavor text as well. You usually use those weapon systems unless when you have nothing else. Pretty much. But they're always fun to look at and when you find them in-game. Alright, now let's dive in the Inner Sphere weapon. And for that we're going to start with the Ballistics. Now, let's start with the regular autocannon. But this time, let's give it a bit more flavor. Now this, for example, this autocannon is an autocannon 10 Mydron instead of a regular one. And it changes its damage profile from 60 per hit to 5 times 15 with bonuses and accuracy ignore. Now there is now in the game more than one flavor of even the regular basic autocannon. So it is up to you to take a look at the description whenever you encounter something new to try to figure out what the hell it is. But even basic autocannons now have more flavors to them. The other important things is that the different type of ammo for the same weapon. And one of the most important factors of Inner Sphere weapons and what makes them still being able to perform compared to their clan counterparts, for example, is their ability to have much more different ammo type than clan weapons. For example, with this AC-10 Mydron, well, now you have choices. You can use flak ammo, which have bonus to damage and accuracy against flying target. You have armor piercing, which will deal 15 damage directly to internal. You have double or caseless, which is 2 flavor of having more ammo bang for your buck. Precision, 2 evasion pip ignore, or incendiary. Incendiary is particularly deadly in my opinion, especially with Inner Sphere autocannon. It's gonna add heat to every damage, and you're gonna fire with a Mydron 5 times, so you're gonna have a chance to add additional heat 5 times. So Inner Sphere, different type of Inner Sphere ammo, it what makes even the basic weapon can be still effective later on in the game. And it is one of the advantage of the Inner Sphere weapon system is the different ammo types. There's a lot of those in the missile sections as well that we're going to cover a bit later. Now we're going to take a look at 2 other forms of autocannons. Those are basically lost tech that are now available freely in Roguetech. You have the LBX and the Ultra. The LBX is essentially a big shotgun. It will fire 2 types of ammunition. You can fire a cluster, which is essentially a big shotgun. That will give you more critical chance, evasion ignore, and a bit more damage. It will fire 5 projectiles from your LBX-5 instead of just 1. They also have accuracy against flying objects. Or you can fire from the same cannon a single slug, much like a shotgun, which will make it more of a regular autocannon. However, the slugs have greater range than the regular autocannon. Now, all of these are of course available in 2, 5, 10, and 20 variant. We're just looking at these for the moment. After that, you have your ultra cannons. Now, your ultra cannons will be heavier with the ability to fire twice. Now, with this Ultra 5, you're going to fire 2 times 45. But it's going to have more jam chance, more recoil, and more weight. The Ultras are the pure damage dealer that can fire twice. But keep in mind, especially if you're at the beginning of your playthrough, that managing the recoil and the jam if your pilot is a newbie is going to be more difficult. Alright, now, continuing with ballistics, even the Gauss rifles are going to have different flavors, much like the AC-10. Now, there's different variation of it. You've probably seen the Gauss rifle in the vanilla Battletech. And this is pretty much the same thing, but this particular flavor of it has a direct 5 damage to internals, which can cause critical. So the M7 here, the Gauss rifle M7, this one has direct internal damage, which makes it interesting. There's a few more variation, but you get the picture. Even with basic inner sphere stuff, there's different variation, and you have to pay attention to what actually they do different from a regular one. Last but not least, we have what could be qualified as the king of ballistics, which is rotary cannon. Rotary cannon is, well, a big Gatling autocannon. You have a choice of firing 1 through 6 projectile. So with a single burst of rotary AC5 in this case, AC5 cannon, AC autocannon 5 in rotary format, you can fire up to 6 projectile, and with this cannon that would be 240 damage if you hit all of them, of course. But it comes with a cost. This, for example, this weapon has a recoil of 1 per shot, which means that the next time you want to fire that weapon, you would have a -6 penalty to hit. All of the recoil count as 1 penalty to hit for the next turn. You also have a jam chance per shot, so 5% in this case. So you would have a 30% chance of jamming your weapon when you're firing at 6. Of course, pilots and other stuff, other equipment can mitigate this. So the rotary cannons are the king of ballistic, but they are difficult to use in the early game if you don't have a good pilot or good equipment that can mitigate the penalties to firing it quickly. Now, moving on to energy weapon, you're gonna start to see a pattern repeating. For example, we have a lot of different versions of a medium lasers, and they're all valid. They just have different little tidbits. But sometimes, for example, you can see a laser that has +1 accuracy, or a laser that has -1 accuracy. That's simply because it's a more high-tech and more earlier prototype version of the same thing. So just watch out for the text description. Same thing for pulse. You can have a pulse of 10 times 3 damage, or you have a pulse of 15 times 2 damage. Variation on the same flavor. Notable things to check out for are X-Pulse, for example. This is inner sphere technology for hard-hitting pulse laser. They combine the accuracy and evasion bonuses with 1 strong beam. So medium pulse, for example, or medium X pulse are very deadly in the early game. A good 35 damage with 18 heat and accuracy. So they are very, very deadly in the early game, especially for point blank fights and backstab. Now, one thing that is uncommon is the chem lasers, the chemical lasers. Chemical lasers have a interesting little quirk, is that they are much lighter and don't use as much heat, but they do require ammo. So a large chem laser will need ammo for a large chem laser. They also have a big damage variety of 9, for example. So this weapon can do, instead of just 40, it is 31 to 49, essentially. But there's a lot of things you can do with those builds because they're very low tonnage. So you can cram a lot of these in a single build. Now, next we go to the PPCs. You're going to notice that PPCs, well, they come in different variety as well. You have your regular, which is very close to the performance of the vanilla game. But then you can get a light and a heavy, which are self-explanatory. The light is a lighter version, but I still have good range for lighter tonnage. The heavy is the heavier version that hits harder with more tonnage and heat. You also have a snub-nose PPCs. Now these guys, they do good damage for good heat. However, they are short range. Their damage will fall off up to 50% at long range. This means that you fire this guy point blank, you do 60. But you fire it at max range, you're only gonna do 30 damage. They're specialized at short range. Still, in the energy weapon, you're gonna have something like a plasma cannon. A plasma cannon is essentially a PPC who delivers heat as well as pure raw damage. So instead of doing like a regular PPC, you're doing 50 damage. This thing will deliver 35 damage, but 20 heat to your target. So they are basically plasma or heat PPCs that require ammo. Now there's a few more of there. Of course, there's a lot of things in Roguetech, but essentially what I'm trying to show you is that there are going to be variation of the same theme of what you're seeing here, so that you can get a better idea of what's out there. Now before we move on to missile, I just wanted to quickly address flamers and machine guns. The same pattern will start to emerge. You're gonna have a machine gun light, a machine gun heavy. Same thing with a machine gun array, which is with a light and a heavy. A machine gun array is basically a few machine gun taped together. You're gonna have the same thing with the flamers, where you have a regular flamer, a heavy flamer. Some may require ammo, some may not. But before we move on, I just wanted to touch on one thing. All of these guys will have different ammo type, especially the machine guns. They have incendiary, for example, as well. But importantly, all of these are going to have extreme accuracy bonuses against battle armor and proto-mech unit. In Roguetech, you're going to face a lot of the nasty little battle armor. They are very dangerous. And all of the quote-unquote infantry weapon or anti-infantry weapon like machine guns and flamers, as well as some small laser, are going to have massive bonuses against said battle armor. So it is important to note that even in the late game, don't discount having a backup flamer somewhere, because you can burn those assholes alive. So moving on to missile. So as we move on to the missile, just a reminder that I'm not going to cover again the weapons that are in vanilla Battletech, the game. I'm going to dive in on what's available here in Roguetech. Let's look at the streak system. Now streak is available for both short, medium, and long range. But in this example, we're looking at a streak SRM 6. A streak means that the weapon will either fire all of the missile or none of it. Like a laser or a cannon, you either hit or you don't. The weapon is going to attempt to make a hit roll, and if it doesn't, it won't fire at all if it doesn't hit. So it's good for saving ammo, and it also has accuracy bonuses. But keep in mind that it's a hit or not weapon, so even if you have lots of streak missile, you can sometimes not fire at all because they all missed their one hit chance. Next, we have the medium range missile, or MRMs. Now, this is something that is available in Roguetech in both 10, 20, 30, and 40 variety. This is a weapon system that is a bit inaccurate, with -1 accuracy with this weapon. It is, however, harder to be catched by anti-missile because it's a large volley of missile all at once. MRMs are very good for, well, medium range. It is somewhere between SRM and long range, and it is a big cluster of missile that can do a lot of damage. They too have a few different ammo that you can have, from more accurate version to incendiary. All of them have different ammo type, which is one of the advantage, and the main advantage of Inner Sphere weapon is the different ammo types. You have as well rockets. Rockets is a one-use weapon. You fire it and then it's gone. However, they are very lightweight and they hit hard. So it's a one and done kind of deal. They all come in different variety as well, like area of effect or incendiary. But it's all the same principle. All rockets are just one and done. Like this, for example, rocket 5-pack is only a quarter of a ton, but it's a one-shot weapon. So it can be useful in some occasion. As we move on to long range, it's going to be a bit of the same things. You're gonna get, for example, a delta. It's just different variety of your basic long range. The delta, for example, has +1 per HP per missile, which makes them harder to kill by anti-missile system. The long fire has a longer range. So these are variation of LRMs. What's really the one to look out are these two here. NLRM is a weapon system that does more damage per missile. They do 7 damage per missile, as well as having missile +1 HP, making them harder to get by AMS. NLRM are very dangerous for their tonnage. This LRM 10 still will deliver 7 times 10 damage, for example. And all of these can use the specialty ammo. And the one to look for, and one of the deadliest Inner Sphere weapon, is the Extended Range LRM, the ELRM. So this one does increase damage at long range up to a maximum of 100%. This means that if you are hitting at an extreme range of up to almost more to 1300 meter, you are doing 10 damage per missile instead of 5. Which, coupled with some of the custom ammo, can start to be really dangerous. This is the package that comes with one of the unique mech in the game, and they are very deadly. That is one of the weapon systems to look for in the Inner Sphere. Let's take a quick look at some of the, for example, different ammo type that you can use with all of the LRM weapon system. Shaft that will decrease the accuracy of your victim. You can have dead fire, which is very shorter range and not accurate, but 50% more damage. Follow the leader, 50% chance to cluster, and they all hit at the same location, which is gnarly. If you take a follow the leader, for example, all the missile is going to hit on the same location, and you fire it with a extended range, you can deliver with this weapon 100 damage of missile at the exact same location. It's starting to be interesting. So yes, with missile and with ballistic, the Inner Sphere weapon start to shine by using the different ammo type. So you have Swarm that can do area of effect, or you have one of my favorite here, the Typhoon. The Typhoon delivers acid and does more damage to the armor, as well as making him take more damage afterward. Those are the things to look for in Inner Sphere weapons. Last but not least, we're going to look at the Thunderbolt, which comes in 5, 10, 15, and 20 variety. They also have a few ammo type, but Thunderbolt is basically replacing a missile system with one big missile instead of being a missile swarm. So all of these, from the 5 to the 20, they're gonna fire one missile. The 5 is a 30 damage missile, and the 20 is a 105 damage missile. They come in different ammo. Some of them will be area of effect, some of them will be pinpoint, but they are also a very interesting Inner Sphere weapon system, ones that is unique to the Inner Sphere. So that's what I want to tell you about missiles. the different ammo type is really what makes the Inner Sphere shine in that case. But wait, there's more, and I almost forgot that one. You also have Multi-Missile Launcher, or MML. This is a weapon system that allows you to use either short range or long range from the same weapon. It is as simple as that. It comes in normal and streak variety. So with this weapon system, you can fire both of them. It is a very good weapon system, but it is a bit high tonnage for the amount of missile that you can fire. For example, this is a 9 missile, and for long range it would only be 6 tons for 9 missile, but for short range it would still be not bad. Those can be useful to create versatile builds. Now, before I move on to artillery, which is a staple of Inner Sphere weaponry, I'd just like to remind you that in the latest version of Roguetech, there are weapons that can be used in the hands of your mech. To use them, you require to have the hands, which my Omni doesn't have right now. So if I would put the weapon here, it wouldn't work. You need hands. But there's lots of handheld weapon available. Those are of various different builds and uses. To use them, you have to put it in the handheld slot here, and it must not be over the amount of weight your mech can carry. So, one of the big staples of Inner Sphere combat is artillery, which is not something the clan will use because of their honor and duel system. Now, artillery exists, they can be salvaged, and they can be used on mechs. It is, however, very inefficient to do so. They are often used mostly on tanks and turrets because of their large recoil, as well as the extreme amount of room they need to function. For example, if I try to put this sniper artillery here, it's gonna use all of that room in the mech, and now I have already not much room left. So an artillery piece can fire up to 3,000 meter. In practical term, that means the entire map of Roguetech, anytime, anywhere. As long as you see it, you can fire, which makes them very valuable. They do a lot of area of effect damage as well. So sniper artillery is no joke, and it is very strong in this game. There's also a version of cannons can be used. Like if I use the same sniper artillery cannon here, that actually takes a lot less room. However, the cannons are smaller version, if you wish, that only has in max range in this case of 660 meters. They are shorter barrel version that you can use, but it is still a bit impractical to use on mech because of knockdown chances, and that's another big discussion that I've done in other videos. What is available for mechs, and that does work, is the mortar system. Mortar comes in 2, 4, 6, and 8. Which is the same thing at a different amount that you're gonna fire. And these are damage of 8 times 10s of small AoE mortars that can do a wee bit of AoE as well. So these exist, and that they work on mechs without any knockdown chances. There's also the Arrow 4 missile system, which is a big missile that does area of effect very similar to artillery. So these are systems that you can use better with mechs that are out there. Both of these, of course, come with a wide variety of ammo, from acid to inferno to area of effect to direct damage. All of these weapon systems have plenty of different ammo types for you to experiment with. Now, as we move on to the clan weapons, we're not going to retread all that we have done before, because a lot of them are simply better version of the Inner Sphere weapon. If we look at the LBX-5 that we took a look earlier, this guy is 7 tons, 5 critical slots, and 4 heat. The clan version will have 1 less ton, 1 less critical slot, and a bit more heat. So that's the pattern that we're going to see for a great many of the clan weapons. They're just optimized version of the same thing. Usually the same statistics, but less weight, as well as smaller and a bit more heat. For example, this SRM 6-pack for the inner sphere is 3 tons, 2 slots, and 9 heat. The inner sphere, pardon me, the clan version is exactly half, with exactly half the tonnage, only 1 slot for a bit more heat. Even the humble machine guns get the same treatment. A half a ton machine gun for inner sphere and a quarter of a ton machine gun for clan. One of the notable exceptions is the ER PPC, with the dreaded clan PPC going a good 75 damage compared to the 55 of the inner sphere. So the ER PPC clan, one of the most dreaded weapons in the game, is only 6 tons for 2 slots for 75 damage, but 56 heat. So that's a lot of what you're going to see with the clan weapon, most of them. But their problem is that they cannot use all the beautiful different ammo type that the inner sphere has. If I want to use this SRM 6 clan, I must be using clan ammo SRM. I would not be able to use inner sphere stuff. Like I want to use tandem, it won't work, because the clan version cannot use specialized ammo. So that is the weakness of these weapon types. Even if they are superior, the inner sphere has been much more inventive and different ammo types. So we're not going to retread everything because that's the point. They're just a wee bit better. What we're going to cover is especially the weapons that are unique to the clan in a bit of a moment. Alright, so let's take a look at unique weapons that are available only to the clans, not just reimagining of inner sphere weapons. First off, let's look at one of my personal favorite, and what can be argued as the best weapon system in the game. It's the Hyper Assault Gauss, or HAG. It comes in 20, 30 or 40 variety, and all of them hit very hard at very long range. They're also accurate against VTOL, chance to cluster and crit seek whatever they hit. They fire a burst of 5 subsonic projectile per shot, so essentially the big one, 40, is doing 200 damage by doing 20 times 10 in a one burst of a long range damage. The HAG is arguably one of the best weapons in the game because it is accurate, it is long range, it can crit seek. It doesn't have any flaws, pretty much. If you can get HAG and Hyper Assault Gauss ammo, take it. It is that good. Second, we're going to take a look at Improved Tactical Missile. This is a weapon system, a missile system that is unique to the clan. What it is it is very accurate. It comes in 3, 6, 9, and 12 pack. And all of them share the thing that they have 1 evasion ignore, +1 accuracy, and +1 direct fire accuracy. So it is quite possible for you to combine these 3 and have a +3 accuracy when firing in direct mode. And all of these can be fired indirectly as well. And all of these use different type of ammo, not for different effect, but for different range. Now the regular optimal range of this guy is 300, which is not that far for a regular missile. But you have ammo regular, then you have ammo extended range, who's going to do more damage, less damage, but 90% to all range bracket. So then you can fire at an optimal of 540 with the ER ammo. But that's not all. After that, you have the heavy explosive ammo, which does +3 damage per missile, but it is less 50% range. So at point blank, you turn this guy into a short range missile, essentially, and you now be doing 13 damage per missile when you hit with this. So in the early game, instead of SRM, if you can grab ATM's Advanced Tactical Missile with heavy explosive, they will outperform SRM with massive accuracy bonus and damage. the ATM is an extremely deadly weapon. It only starts to fade, being less useful at the very end game of Roguetech, when it is outperformed by big guns at long range. But the ATM is unique to the clan, and that is a very interesting weapon to have. There's also out there improved ATM, which improves the evasion ignore even further, but these are very rare, and they're going to be hard to find. Improved ATM even have Inferno ammo or EMP ammo. They have specialized ammo only for the improved ATM. So these are hard to find, and they're pretty rare, but if you can get your hands on them, yes, you should salvage them. Alright, now we're gonna dive into the Republic Institute for Strategic Combat. RISC in short. So, RISC have a few interesting weapons that are different versions of weapons we've covered before with quirks. So we're gonna start with that, and then we're gonna dive in their unique weapon. So, first let's take a look at the Rack 5, which is the most important weapon in the game. Let's see how the RISC compares. The Inner Sphere has a range of 300, is 10 tons, and do 30 damage per shot. The Clan version is 10 tons, does 30 damage per shot, but has a better range. In this case, the Clan weapon makes it longer range. But now we take a look at RISC. RISC said, screw that, I want to do 40 damage per shot, which makes this weapon can do 60 more damage in a full 6 shot of the weapon, which is a lot. And the range is 360, which is in between the two. However, the RISC one has a much more jam per shots. I think it is 5% for the Inner Sphere and then 4%, yeah, for the Clan. So the RISC one has a total of 8% jam per shot. So yes, if you're firing at 6 shots, you have a 48% jam chance, which is a lot. So this weapon does more damage, but in true RISC fashion, it has a quirk and a drawback. In this case, it is that it jams a lot. Now also, the RISC Rack 5 is going to use its proprietary ammo, the Ammo 5 RISC, and it cannot use precision or incendiary ammo that the other two can. So it can only do damage. But it's still a very interesting weapon. If you can manage the jam chance. Next, we're going to take a look at multi-missile that we've seen before. Now, the biggest multi-missile that you can have in the Inner Sphere is a multi-missile 9 for 6 tons. But RISC said, fuck that. I want 20 multi-missile launcher. Now, this monster is the same tonnage at 6 tons. And it can fire 20 LRM or 20 SRM. So yeah, this monster could fire 20 SRM at 6 tons. However, in the same fashion of all RISC weapon, it has a 25% jam chance. So this makes these weapons difficult to use if you have not a very good pilot or not a very good gunnery, because you're gonna jam a lot. But the MML-20 is one nasty weapon. Imagine putting 2 of these on a medium mech and then firing 40 SRM for 12 tons of weapon. It is a wee bit insane. Now we have at least 2 more to look at, and then we're going to look at a proprietary RISC system. Next, let's take a look at 2 other crazy RISC weapons. The Silver Bullet Gauss, which I did not cover before, is essentially a precursor to the Hyper Assault Gauss, the HAG. So RISC took a look at that and said, well, why not make it with an area of effect? The RISC Silver Bullet Gauss will do 150 area of effect damage, the same as the artillery really, in direct fire. And that is just gnarly. It fires 15 times 6 projectile and then an AoE. Wow. RISC weapons are weird. And on top of that, speaking about Hag, another weapon created by RISC is the Hyper Assault Gauss for RISC. Instead of being 20, 30, or 40, they said let's make a rack out of it. That thing can fire 1 through 6 projectile of Hag, essentially firing a 60 at its maximum, which is slightly insane. However, like all of their other weapons, it comes with a few quirks and caveats. This one, for example, it has a recoil, which the regular Gauss doesn't. The regular Gauss does not care and can fire turn after turn without recoil. This one has a recoil of 1 per shot. It also has a minimum range of 90. And the weapon damage and heat will fall off to 75% of starting value at long range. This means that to use this you have to be just after the minimum range, but not in long range so that you can hit with all of your the weapon's power, which makes it extremely tricky to use, especially with the recoil. So it is, in theory, a Hag 60, just in the right circumstances. The simple Hag 40 is much superior, but it is a interesting RISC weapon that, yeah, it was worth mentioning here. If you can salvage this, go ahead, just try it. Be careful how you use it. Now, last but not least, we have the micro missile system. Now, this is arguably one of the best weapons in the game. The best one for short-range missile, that's for sure. Now, why is that? Well, it comes in 10, 20, 30, and 40 package. And that weapon has 2 modes of fire. The first mode will be fire as a streak missile. Thus, it will fire everything or nothing, with 1 evasion ignore and 1 accuracy bonus. But if you wish, you can overextend it into fire and forget mode, which doubles the amount of missile it fires. It will double the heat as well, and it will have a -1 accuracy like a medium range missile when you do that. But essentially, if you look at a micro missile 40, you can say I can actually fire 80 all of it, which is starting to be quite bananas. So this is with this guy, if you fire in streak mode, you essentially have a damage potential of 160. If you fire and forget, that number can go up to 320, which is slightly insane. Of course, it has a accuracy bonus, an accuracy penalty of 2 when you do that with the 40, but it is still quite insane. In most scenarios, you're gonna hit enough to be worth it. And on top of that, this system not only uses regular ammo, but it uses tandem as well. Plus 2 damage directly to internals. So you know those stubborn tanks with 1000 armor but 40 internal? You fire tandem with MMS and they say goodbye. Or where you have a pesky target you want to shut down? Well, imagine firing all of that in Inferno missile with 2 heat per missile. Yeah, micro missile system is a beast. It is a total beast, and you should absolutely salvage it anytime you can. Alright, now let's dive in to the science and society gear. Now, there's a few of them that looks a bit like improved version of Clan, so I'm not gonna go over that. Let's take a look at the 4 here that are unique to society and slightly insane. First, a light ultra ghost rifle. You heard it right. This is an ultra ghost rifle that will fire twice. With 1 evasion ignore, critical chance, optimal range of 510, maximum range of over 1 kilometer. And yes, it fired twice at 56. So this is, in my opinion, if not the best ballistic weapon in the game, one of the best. I mean, up there with the Hag. This thing is essentially a ultra pinpoint Gauss rifle that fire twice. It's slightly insane. Then let's take a look at another very quirky weapon that is an Arrow 5. The Arrow 5 will turn the Arrow 4 system from a artillery piece to a direct damage piece. The Arrow 5 is a damage of 164 pinpoint with a bit of variation. It is also a streak launcher, so it doesn't waste your ammo. It has a +5 accuracy against VTOLs and other flying units. So imagine being able to have a streak weapon that does +5 accuracy to VTOLs and it's 164 damage pinpoint. It is slightly insane. It turns the Arrow 4 into a direct weapon that is better than a heavy Gauss rifle in every way. No knockdown, no shenanigans, direct weapon that has an optimal range of 1000. It's, yeah. You imagine making a mech with 3 of these, that you have 1000 optimal range for 3 times 164 pinpoint damage. Good luck finding this weapon and the ammo though, but if you do, you're gonna laugh. A lot. Then we're gonna take a look at the Supra laser, or science lasers. They come in small, medium, and large variety. Let's take a look at the large for the intent of the example. Now, all of them take cues from the improved heavy laser. So this is an 80 damage laser for a 56 heat. That is a lot of heat. However, all of the Supra lasers, they can adjust their firing to short range, optimal range, and long range. And all of them will have different effect. If you go short range, you have plus 33% increased damage. So you're going over 100. If you're going regular range, this is the stats that you see here. And you can go long range for a plus 50% in range and +1 improved accuracy with 33% less damage. So all of the Supra laser of science can change the range that you want to fire when you have them, making them extremely versatile. And they can hit really hard for energy weapon. They make a case for energy weapon being really strong. And last but not least, one of the best weapon, and I will say my favorite, is the MRM-60. Now this is just 11 ton. It is less tonnage than a micro missile. And it is 60 missile, a whopping 300 damage on a 11 ton package. Just be careful of the heat, because it is 60 heat. Now this weapon, compared to the other MRM, is not just good on paper like this. It has a few specialty ammo that can only be used by science weapon. You can, for example, give him an MRM Apollo MRM attachment for +2 evasion ignore, +2 accuracy, and start laughing. Then you have the Hunter Killer ammo that's going to be more accurate. Then you have the EMP ammo that will completely shut down anything it hits with some incredible numbers. Then you have, for nothing, something else, you have the Kinetic Kill that will do improved damage to armor depending on the range, up to plus 50%. So you can fire this weapon if you have, for example, 2 of them. You're thinking of potential 600 damage. And then you fire a Kinetic Kill on something that is fully armored, well, then you're doing 750 damage. Yes, you can start to see why this weapon starts to be my favorite. Imagine facing a super heavies and saying in one fell swoop deleting 750 damage armor. It is pretty intense. So those are the unique science that are available out there. They are the best faction / weapons in the game. They are exceedingly rare, however. If you see a society out there, do it. Do it now. Society gear is the shit. So we're nearing the end of our journey, and we're going to talk about pirate weapon. So pirate weapons, there's too much of them. I'm not going to tackle them all. I'm just going to few examples for, to me, are important. And also I'd like to mention that medium rifles and rotary light rifles are a thing. They're just periphery downgrades to regular autocannon. They are also part of the periphery / pirate cluster of weapon. They're out there and they have different ammo type, because of course. Now let's take a look at a few quacky weapons. The small laser pirate. The small laser pirate is 3 small laser slapped together to jury rig the entire thing. It has 1 armor piercing, 1 heat, can fire 3 times, and then there's an alternative fire mode to fire again with, yeah, it's small laser pirate. You have the medium pulse. That if 1 pulse or 3 was not enough for you, well then do 2 times 3 times 6 in a, well, nice little disco laser. Let's look at the slazer, which is a variation of a laser, large laser by crap. It uses a streak technology, so it only fires when you hit. 2 heat per turn, but it also does a reasonable 42 damage and 3 heat to your enemies. Why not? Now, the one that I prefer the most, which is somewhere in between periphery technology and pirate technology, if you could call it that, is the large rotary cam laser, as well as a medium rotary cam laser. Now imagine large cam laser in a rack format. Suddenly you can fire 6 times 40 damage, which is as much damage as a rack 5 RISC. You just have 13 variable damage, yeah, and you have the jam chance and yeah, all of that jazz. But for 9 tons, that is a lot of damage. If you can salvage a large rotary cam laser, I advise it. You can do some pretty intense disco with this. There's of course the medium variant as well, which is 25 damage per shot, and you can fire it up to 6. So you have a medium range up to 150 damage for 4 tons, which is slightly insane. Imagine having one of those in the early game strapped to a medium mech. You're gonna have a lot of fun. And last but not least, in our crazy pirate weapon, you have the Thunderbolt 30, which is essentially 3 Thunderbolt 10 taped together. Now you have minus accuracy, and you do internal damage, and you do heat as well, something similar to the small laser in just a big missile format. In this thing, if it wasn't enough, you can also fire it in double mode with a 42% chance of misfire. But if you really want to kill someone, you can just fire 6 Thunderbolt 10 missile out of that thing. You're gonna misfire, but it's gonna be funny. That is a very interesting weapon, to say the least. So my recommendation is the rotary cam lasers. They are very good, and there's quite a lot of quirky weapons out there. I'm not gonna cover them all, but essentially every pirate weapon is a crazy version of a regular weapon. Have fun discovering them, and of course always read the subtext, because it's pretty funny. So for the final presentation of this journey, we're going to take a look at one of the good things a pirate did, which is the rack weapon. And in my opinion, the only useful Quicksell weapon, which is the Rex laser. Alright, so rack pirate, what makes them good? Okay, so a regular rack does, well, damage per shot like an autocannon, just more of it. But the pirates said, F this. We're gonna turn it into some sort of gigantic rotary shotgun. So instead of doing 30 damage per shot, you are doing 11 times 5, so 55 per shot, and some sort of a giant cluster weapon. And then you can crank this up to 6, which is gnarly. If you look at it here, it says 165 damage. Yeah. So in reality, if you crank this up to 6, a Rack Pirate 5, you can do 330 damage. Wow. But, of course, compared to the real one, you're gonna have lesser range. You're gonna have a lot more recoil. You're gonna have all sorts of problems. They can misfire. 4% chance to misfire when firing. Yeah, so if you not have enough gunnery, the weapon can destroy itself and blow up. Which is very pirate. And it is also, well, 5 tons heavier, which is a lot. But the rack pirates, when you fire these things, they fire so many projectiles that they can be not as deadly as a hag because of a shorter range, but they have the same weapon profile of extreme crit seekings. So, rack pirates are very deadly. If you ever got hit by one, you know what I'm talking about. This is the pirate weapon that is very scary. It also uses ultra ammo instead of rack. Why? Because those are ultra cannons strapped together, of course. Alright, last but not least, to finish our weapon journey, this is the only weapon in Quicksell that I find interesting, which is a RISC laser. The RISC laser is considered an X-pulse, pretty much. It's a weird X-pulse. Now, why is that interesting? Well, that thing can do plus 45% damage to armor. 45%. So you're almost doubling the potential damage from this thing. So if you're firing on armor, instead of 45, you're looking in the range of 80 damage for 2 tons. There's, of course, a fallback with this, because this weapon deals full damage at point blank range, but falls off to 10% damage at its maximum range. So if you're firing point blank with this, you can, in theory, do 80 damage on a 2 tons and 20 heat weapon. If. Anything else? Against internal structure, it deals less damage, and S, it can damage fall off of up to 10%, so yeah. But in the right circumstances, if you're using this rightly and go backstab with a very fast unit or a lamb, this medium RISC laser can be the real deal. So that's the weapon that I find interesting of the Quicksell variant. Alright, so this has been a much more intense project than I imagined. It took me a good 5 or 6 hours just to record. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you thank you for watching. Thank you for watching until the end. Now, if you have any other questions, please feel free in the comment. This is to help new players or returning players, because there's a lot of shit out there. We haven't even covered super heavies or any other equipment on a mech. So, let me know what you think in the comment. Did I miss something? And I will see you again next time.